so we are not going to see the legal status of the MTO in relation to the shipper and then the subcontractors. Okay? So the MTO is in the middle, he's over here. Okay? And then the shipper is over here, or the owner of the goods. And then these are the subcontractors, the truck owner, the aircraft operator, the ship operator, the ship owner, and all those things and all that. So the MTO is here. Now the relationship between the MTO and the shipper is what we call the external external transport. Yes. Okay, fine, that's fine. That's the multimodal transport contract. It's between the MTO and the shipper or the owner of the goods. And that contract is called the external contract or the external relationship. The external is at the right side. I hope you can see that. It's over here. Okay, and then the one between this, the MTO and the subcontractors, okay, that one is internal. And that one is not governed, is not governed by a single contract because each one is doing a different job. So the relationship between the MTO and the road transport is governed by the CIM. Now, what you do the most, when you take them individually, you will learn that the CIM is a convention, okay? But the container handling is not a convention, it's an agreement. So when you don't have a convention regarding the relationship, there's always an agreement between the ship owner and then the MTO and the operator. Are you following? Yeah. What I'm saying is that, okay, thank you very much. What I'm saying is that the legal relationship between the MTO and the owner of the goods or the shipper is governed by a contract called a multimodal transport contract. And that one is termed external relationship. Okay? It is between the MTO and then the owner of the goods or the shipper. And then the relationship between the MTO and each of these subcontractors is the internal one. And then between each of them, between any two of them, between the MTO and the road transporter, we have the CIM contract guarding it because this is a convention. So when you have a convention, it's a convention that guards the contracts. But when there is no convention like the container leasing or the terminal operator, then there's an agreement between them, between the MTO and that operator. That's what I wanted you to know. Okay? Good. Of course. Okay, so as seen from the last clip, that is from the top there, I was just trying to explain it. Regarding the legal and liability situation, we must differentiate between an internal and external contracts. The internal part is the legal relationship of the MTO towards different transport operators, the carriers. The external part concerns the relationship between the MTO and the owner of the goods. Okay, so that was what I was trying to explain. Now, the liability for this risk in international transport is mainly intramodal and ruled by law as follows. We are talking about the internal one. Now, for the internal one, between the MTO and the air transport operator, the convention that is governing them is called the Warsaw Convention. It is just an international agreement which was signed in Warsaw, the capital of Poland. That's why it's called Warsaw. Okay? Yes. So that is it. So that governs, it is one of the conventions that governs air transport. This one, when there's a plane crash, what happens is that they use the convention to compensate the victims for their lives and their goods and all that. Okay? Okay. Now for the sea transports, you have different conventions. Okay? It depends on which one the ship operator or the ship owner is using. You have the Hague rules, the Hague-Visby rules, and the Hamburg rules. Now there's even another one called Rotterdam rules. Okay? So the Hague rules and the Hague rules were signed in The Hague in the Netherlands. That's Holland. Okay, Hamburg was signed in Germany. All right. Yeah. So for when you go into the various modes that you are going to study, you will learn a lot more about this. Okay. Now the road traffic is guided by CMR. Okay. Some of them are short. I mean, just how do you call it? Acronyms. And normally they are French words, and I'm not good in French anyway because I didn't go to international school, so my French is not good. Yes. So uh, it is a French word, but you just learn the CMR. When you get to the road mode, you will be able to model, you will be able to understand it better. Then for the rail transport, you have COTIF stroke SMGS. This is the convention that is governing the rail traffic. So you will learn the details of this when you do the various models. I hope you understand that. Multimodal transport is a combination of these, and so there's no single, I told you, there's no single convention guarding their operations. Any question? Okay, so we come to, for ports, terminals and warehouses where we don't have conventions, okay? There are no international laws yet. Damages, losses, and delays at these interfaces are regulated according to contractual law, that is standard warehousing conditions. Example. Okay, so this one they are not conventions, they are just standard conditions. So if it is warehouse, there is a standard, I mean warehouse condition. If it is a terminal, standard terminal conditions. I hope you understand that, which they use currently. Especially in developing countries, this sometimes means a non-transparent and risky situation because the legal situation is unclear for the MTO. That's why it's difficult to be an MTO currently, especially in West Africa, where the rules are different from one country to another because there's no convention yet. I hope you are with me. All right. If you have any question, you can call my attention and ask. So we are now with the external liability. Okay, the external part. There are two main streams of development. That is between the MTO and the shipper. There are two main streams of development which are considered here. The first one is the uniform solution. With the uniform solution, the MTO contract is an own contract, independent from unimodal agreement. There is one uniform liability, independent from where the damage occurred. Now the issue is this: when you give your goods to an MTO, you realize that you'll be using more than one mode of transport. And so if there are damages, okay, or there are pilferages, people still, some goods have been stolen, it will only be determined at the end of the journey. Okay? Because if it's a container, it will not be opened until they get to the final destination. Good. Now this uniform solution says that irrespective of where the damage or the accident or the pilfering occurred, the liability is the same. The same amount will be paid. I hope you understand. Yes. And then the second one is network solution. Network solution says that multimodal transport is a sum of unimodal transport respecting the rules and laws already developed for them. The liability depends on the mode where the damage occurred. So here, for the network, he's saying that if you're able to determine the mode where the problem, the damage occurred, then you will go according to that convention for that particular mode. I mean, what that particular mode, and then do your claims. Now here, you will make more money here than here, but the issue is that it is difficult to determine which mode had the problem. I hope you understand that. So to be on the safer side, most people use a uniform solution so that at least they can get something. Okay? Yeah, it's very easy to solve problems using the uniform solution than the network solution. Network solution says, show me whether it is road or sea leg or rail, and let me pay you according to what is laid out. But it's difficult. All right. Any question? All right, so the freight forwarder's liability in case of issuing a fiata bill of lading. So if you issue a fiata bill of lading, then the freight forwarder is liable for to compensate the shipper should in case something happens to the goods. Now you are going to see two different formulae, okay? All right. So you are saying that the liability of the freight forwarder, according to the terms of the FBL, that is the Fiat Bill of Lading, is multimodal bill of lading. It's a mixture of the uniform and the network solutions. They have combined it. Okay. Now the freight forwarder's liability is limited to 666.67 SDR per package or unit, or 2 SDR per kilogram of gross weight of the goods lost or damaged, whichever is higher. Now this formula, I'll show you how to use it on the day that we are going to do the tutorials. And you have a question in the case study which involves this calculation. Okay? So if you are good in calculations, then straight away you go to it, understand the question, and then you blow it. But if you know your math is not good, you don't go there. Because if you go there, you can easily get 0. All right. But I'll give two questions in the section C. One will be theory and one will be calculation. So if you know your calculation is not good, you fall on the theory. Okay. Yes, but the calculation is always easier if you are mathematically inclined. Okay. So this formula, you note it. We will use it on the last day. You will see how it works, and then in the exams you can, or if it comes, you can then use it. Now, if an ad valorem freight rate has been paid as stated in the FVL, then this shall be the limit for the compensation. What is ad valorem freight? Who has said it before? The freight we call the ad valorem freight. Is there anybody? Value added. It's not quite clear. So who can put in a better form? Who can put in a better form? What is the meaning of ad valorem freight rates? Okay, these are the freight rate or the freight charge. The freight rate charge for very expensive goods. Okay, and it's always a percentage of the cost of the goods for insurance purposes. Okay, so if you have, let's say, a computer, a sophisticated computer, okay, which has been